So this month we have a webcast with BI360 on reporting and beyond, and Tom Franks from Solver is going to be presenting. So Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Chris, and enjoy doing these presentations for SBS Group, who was our #1 partner in 2016. So congratulations to SBS. So what I'm doing today is a webinar called Reporting and Beyond, and really what we're looking to do is show some of the basics of reporting, but then also showing some advanced parts of reporting. So what typically happens, or the question, is this your organization? Is there a lack of insight into the overall business performance? And although that might include financial statements and a profit and loss, it really probably, most people do that at least somehow pretty well, although it might take longer than you'd think. But what about cash flows? What about billing statements? What about sales history reporting or vendor performance reporting, or any of the other things that are critical to each and every vertical that we have? Secondly, look at the manual processes that can lead to poor data integrity. If you're copying data out of your Microsoft Dynamics system into a spreadsheet and leaving it there not connected back to that data source, that data is getting stale minute by minute, hour by hour, and oh gosh, if you go a couple of days, it could be very stale depending on what it is. Can you pull in different data sources? Can you really pull in your CRM data and your accounting data and have the customers mixed together and have that mean something? Hopefully you can, but if not, we can help. And then last, how many tools are you using to do this? Are your accountants using one tool for the general ledger but using another one for accounts payable? Are they using a third tool for CRM? Are they using a different programming level tool to write other reports? Then when it comes time to budgeting, are you using a fifth tool? That is actually the Microsoft stack. So if you have Microsoft Dynamics, what I just said could be Management Reporter, SQL Reporting Services, Business Analyzer, Forecaster. All of those together could, in fact, that's part of that Microsoft stack, but one tool can do all of that together, and that's really what I want to show today. So first, kind of BI360's goal is to help let CFOs and other people in that finance team spend more time doing their analysis and decision making and less time doing the copy and paste, doing the formatting and integrating data, putting graphs into a report each and every month or each and every quarter, handwriting a summary. I certainly have seen a bunch of clients do that before they give their reports to the board of directors. All of those types of administrative, not creative, not fully analytical processes, if they go down, then the ability to make better decisions increases. And if you boil down everything we're talking about in reporting, that really is the trick to make a better decision, to get the right data, get it initially, get it the first time, and be able to fully understand the things you need to understand to have your business leaders make their decisions. So a quick backup: who is Solver? We are the company. We have written software for 20 years. We brought something called enterprise reporting to the Microsoft Dynamics world. As that phased out, we rewrote it as BI360, an Excel-based reporting tool, added budgeting functionality, and added now a web portal to take a look at this. So that is now called in the world Corporate Performance Management. That's CPM. Got to have an acronym if you're going to be taken seriously these days. And that's ours. So it's a part of business intelligence. We've won a bunch of awards you see on the left, including being named 3 years in a row on Gartner's Magic Quadrant report. What exactly is BI360? What we are going to talk about almost exclusively today is reporting and different ways to do reporting. The dotted line is what we call live reporting, and I will first show this management reporter replacement functionality of BI360. But then secondly, with the solid line, we have the ability to add a data warehouse. That's a standard SQL database that allows us to be able to store data from multiple data sources. Most common is putting a CRM in there, but it can be an industry-specific billing package, purchasing package, fixed assets, payroll, you name it, it's out there. What I'm not going to show today, we have other webinars on this, and I believe SBS recorded one we did for budgeting and beyond, and I'll briefly touch on dashboards today because I really consider that just a different type of reporting. So let's go ahead and kind of take a look at that. So what BI360 does is it leverages Excel knowledge to be able to create reports, what our power users do. That's our term. If you want to call it, FRX called them designer users, so did management reporter. You can think of it that way. It works fine. And then secondly, it'll centralize and streamline the distribution and sending out of these reports. And then last, we try to make this self-service, so you have the ability to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to show one report. I'm going to write one from scratch. I'm going to show a third report, all within this, what we call the Management Reporter Replacement Package. That is our $21.95 introductory package for 5 users of BI360. And that's about 70% off our regular price for reporting. So let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. So I'm going to put this report away, and I'm going to pull up one here. I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to switch between some ERPs today. I'm going to start with a report off of NAV just because it happened to be on the list of reports. So what I am, first thing to show, I am a power user, designer user. That's usually, a couple of key people in every organization. Often you can count them on one hand, sometimes 2 hands if it's a bigger organization. I'm in Excel 2013, and we have a reporting and a planning menu that we add to this. The beginning part of our solution is a fully Excel-based solution, and what I have is a fairly short template, and then I have the ability, I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to go back and show you how we can do some things here. So first, I'm going to run it for 3 departments, the 3 I have in that Kronos USA. This is live reporting from NAV. I'm picking a month to work with. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. And as I do, look at rows 7 and 10 as this queries out. So it's querying the database, bringing back data, and it expanded the sales accounts and the other revenue accounts and so on, and our short report got longer. We have, second thing to take a look at here is we have, if I right-click, go past the normal things in Excel on a right click, and we can drill down to the transactions that made this up. So that includes the customer group, that includes other really nice information, and of course to the right I have the dollars there as well. So second thing that we have in here besides that right click is all of our formatting is standard Excel. So I have graphs here, I have colors, of course, I have a logo, things that were hard to do in that standard Microsoft Management Reporter tool. And then the one that they can't even touch is conditional formatting. And that's a standard Excel feature. Microsoft owns it, but anyway, not ability to put that in. We did I think it was the data bar here to kind of, have that go across depending on the thing of what we have. And then also here in the budget remaining, we have the green or yellow or potentially red icon sets here too, kind of stoplight, so old-fashioned stoplight. However you want to do that, you are able to do that. So, and then last we have what we call metadata available. So what that means is if you're not a nav user, or even if you are, these fields are named what you want them to be named. So if I hover over, you can see the SQL name, and some of them are short and some of them are longer, but we have the ability to name them what you want to. So if you want invoice date, not document date, you can do that. Again, our amounts show up here, as do our periods, and all of the things with a little triangle, of course, has other fields in there. So everything's pre-joined. You don't need to know the database per se as a database, or read SQL, or any of that type of stuff to write a report. And that's a great thing. So I'm going to go ahead and show one last thing here. And that's what we call our expanding. So if you're an FRX or Management Reporter user, you can, almost everything they did was based off of these GL account numbers. So if we wanted to do our GL account stuff, I can do a range of numbers. In fact, I can do the range out of order if I wanted to as well. Sometimes that happens. And then with this expanding button, if I turn it off, it'll total up all those accounts and print it on the next line. But if I put this in, it'll print each and every account that has transactions underneath it. If I click this other one, display blank records, it'll display them all, whether there's transactions or not. Sometimes that's useful too. But this expanding button allows you to extend the use of ranges a lot. So if you use that best practice and you have, say, a 5-row unexpanded report, that makes the maintenance of that report a whole lot easier. As you add new revenue accounts or expense accounts, if you add new sub-accounts or segments or dimensions, depending on if it's SL, GP, or NAV. But however you add those, it's automatically there if it's in the ranges, and it can be printed. The maintenance of the reports can go down 80% from Management Reporter and FRX does. And for many organizations, that can be thousands of dollars of savings a month. So I'm going to put this report away. Actually, I'm going to write one from scratch. The one I'm going to write from scratch, I'll go ahead and do from Dynamics SL, just to, again, switch up some of these ERPs. So there's good old Solomon. Again, picking the company, we'll do the US Costco, Contoso, excuse me, and here we go. So again, totally blank. I have this layout editor over to the right. I'm going to write a trial balance just to show what I can do. I'm going to go ahead and put in an account number, a name. Before I get started, I'll go ahead and make each of those a little wider, and this one a little wider still. So I have my general ledger data. Summary table makes life easy a little bit in SL. And then I'm going to bring in my account. I'm going to bring in the description or the name. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in the period balance. I'm going to do that. I missed. Okay, undo. By the way, how many report writers have an undo feature? Think about how handy that can be. So bringing that in twice, and then the reason I did it twice is I'm going to show the date function, so I can do period to date in column D, I can do year to date in column E. I have a whole bunch of other options, including quarters and run, rolling whatever, so that I could do too. And believe it or not, I have done my report. Before I go ahead and run it, I'll take just a couple of seconds, do a little bold and italic there, do a gigantic font here, and then I will take these dollars and make that currency, get rid of the decimal places. Here comes my report. You wouldn't believe what the best month still in that Dynamics SL database is, but here is my report. So I'm going to do a second pass at this and do one thing a little bit. I'm going to add one big thing to it. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just center that. But then secondly, I didn't do anything with the sub-account in this. And our sub-account, and let me talk about this first, I have a field called the full sub-account, but that's made up of, in this Contoso, of sales type, reporting unit, region, location, and group. So I'm going to work just with location. I'm going to put that up here. I'm not going to create a name for, anything for it. I'm going to then finally bring in this layout editor, and I'm going to jump into this, create a parameter out of this. So it's going to ask us which locations we want. In fact, we're good. And then I'm going to create a sheet per value for that, and I like to show what this does. So as I go ahead and run this, the one first, there are my locations. So I'm just going to, I'll go ahead and select them all. I'll do that on the second one. It shouldn't ask twice. It was just my poor clicking that made that happen. Now as I run this, watch the very bottom. And what it's going to do is create a sample, a trial balance for us on each and every one of these. And some have a lot of accounts, some have very, very few. But again, we can run that. The beautiful part of this is I have this run, unrun. It is one thing. It's going to automatically expand the tabs, automatically expand the rows. I have all the locations here. I have all the natural accounts. This is a self-maintaining report at the minute. I could make it automatically expand some columns as well, but I won't do that now. I'll do that a little bit later on, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this report away. I'm going to show one more financial report. This is one off of Dynamics GP. Again, just trying to show each ERP a report. There's not there's ever so slight differences between the three. But in this report, we've really done one extra thing here. So again, I have all of my GP metadata here, including an actual summary and detail table, and that's going to become important in a minute. And over here, I put in some details for just one set of my expense accounts. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and run this. And as it does it, so this is kind of a report not for the top managers necessarily, but for those middle managers. So it's going out, it's grabbing that data, it's going to bring it back in and show this. Again, and here's our report. So again, graphs and the conditional formatting. I'm going to scroll down past all the salaries and revenue that a middle manager is probably not responsible for, but I'm going to go straight to some of those overhead expenses where they are and go to my favorite expense account. I did the wrong one. I think I need to do. this one first. Yeah, there we go. So the first thing to open up is that underneath that I have a total by vendor, and often that's the way many accounts get sorted. Can do it other ways too. But then if I open this up, I can take a look at the things from Delecki Catering, and I can see the 2 invoices that I had. Show that here again. We put them in a little different color just to see them. So although I can do that right-click drill down that I talked about before and see those this way, you know, that can help, and the same information's there. I do have the catering and so on here, but sometimes it's just nicer to see it subtotaled by vendor, see it formatted in a slightly different color. Be able to do this without having to go into the report, and there's some users who don't get to right-click. If we don't buy a user from us, you don't get that. So we can actually send this to somebody without it, but they can still see that detail. And in truth, we're hoping here to answer the first question somebody gets when they get a financial statement, which is, I didn't really buy that, did I? And they can at least go down, see the invoice numbers, see the amount, see the vendor, and answer their own question for that. So if you get the phone call, hopefully you really do have the ability to say, I only ordered from Delecki Catering once. The other one was somebody else. So go ahead and put that in and so on. So that is a quick example of some of the details and a little bit of what you can do creatively with BI360. So that is kind of a review of financial reporting. I only did, at this point, financial statements. We have a nice introductory package. Ask your SBS sales rep about BI360 Management Reporter Replacement. But what's the beyond? So beyond reporting is doing reporting off the subledger and the general ledger in the same report, using a whole lot of Excel formatting, using dashboards. I'll show those in a minute too. And then the most important part is pulling data from other data sources, manipulating that if necessary to make it fit, and pull it from a CRM, especially if it's within some of that current sales cycle data. Pull it from your payroll HR, of course, with security to make sure you're not seeing stuff you're not doing. If there's any travel, that's kind of the #1 expense account most people have that needs a little extra review. So you can do that. If there's fixed asset data for new purchases, sometimes you're putting in soft data, like a customer satisfaction survey. Again, not accounting, not CRM, but still important. So go ahead and you can put that in a data warehouse as well. And the goal out of all of this is better decision making, not just on monthly reports, but on weekly reports, daily reports, quarterly reports, those types of things. So I'm going to show 1 or 2 examples of that. The first one I'll show is in Excel. The rest I'll show through our portal. But you have the ability with BI360 to run these reports either through the portal or through Excel, whatever you feel like. If you're in the office, you might make a different choice than if you're out of the office or at the hotel getting ready for tomorrow morning's meeting. It's up to you. But we count the users the same way. We call those an end user. So first one to take a look at is a report that I like. I'll put away the old one, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up one. This one happens to be off Dynamics GP, but I'm pretty darn sure you can do something similar to this in any of the other Microsoft Dynamics and probably even Acumatica ERP. So first I'm running this for a couple of departments, and I'm running it as of a period date. And as I press to run this, again, I'm starting with that profit and loss statement, but I'm adding 2 things. And to me, for most organizations, two pretty important things. So let's go ahead and let this run for a second. So, and I'll scroll down to where I have a few more transactions here. Actually, I'll go up to the top first. So the first is we added a column here for unposted transactions. And you want to be careful where you list unposted transactions. I always like to do them in a separate column if I do them. Some organizations will have an unposted AP transaction for a week, some for, you know, an hour or so, but whatever. If you want to have those, you can. But certainly, even if it's unposted, it's still probably a 90-some% chance that it's going to get posted and it's going to hit your P&L and it's going to go against your budget, right? So again, I have actual budget, that variance, but then pull out of there anything unposted. And then secondly, as I scroll down, I also have purchase order debits and credits. Credits, of course, are just a return, but again, so we can then take a look. I can even right-click, drill down into the purchasing table of what these are. So if I've, again, gone out and purchased this, we haven't been invoiced for it yet. We haven't, of course, paid it yet. We haven't posted the charge and accrual accounting to it yet, but hey, I bought it. I committed. So it's there. So again, that's not a bad way. I didn't put on this report an extra column to do an extra total, but not a bad idea. So you can kind of see how you're doing. So if you've issued a PO, most organizations, you bought it. So go ahead and count it against your thing. So this is almost encumbrance accounting. In fact, some people call it faux encumbrance accounting because we're not doing the transactions then, we're just sticking them on the report. But again, for the right people, for the right audience, not the auditors, but for the right management reporting folks, great idea. Okay, so, but neat thing, of course, can't do it in some other things because that's GL data, that's Excel math, that's AP data, not GL data, and then this stuff is purchase order module data. So 3 modules working together, 1 report. Tell me how much money I really have left to spend. That's the goal. And there it goes. Of course, some graphs and all that good Excel stuff too. So that is one example of how this can help. And again, so I'm going to now go into my portal. I'm going to go ahead and log out of this one, and I'll do a little bit of extra reporting here. So really 2 things can happen on this. First, this is just a browser, and in many cases, I'll kind of go past the initial ones of these, but we have the ability to do Excel-based reports through the browser. When I do it this way, I get the ability to still change my selection criteria. So if I want to change it for another, scenario or something, I can do that. Scenario is just our fancy word to say budget or actual or forecast or whatever we want to take a look at. So we'll go ahead and, I'm sorry, that's actual. I'll do our budget version 2. Go ahead and refresh this. So again, here's my report again, and we can take a look at this. And again, it's Excel, so lots of graphs. This isn't a dashboard. This is a report. Can do the right click to drill into the transactions that make this up if I want to. If I download it to Excel, it comes with formulas, so that makes it an instant what-if type of report. And then the last thing that's kind of neat here is then I've stored, and this is not in the Excel version, I've stored the last version of this as well. So I switched my budgets from BUD to BUD 2, but if I want to take a look at those and kind of jump back and forth, I can do that easily. So that certainly can help as well. So any of these reports you can see through the browser, like you saw through Excel. Sometimes it's less intimidating. If you're at the hotel, it's usually like one less step you have to do to the terminal server or the, Citrix or something like that to run the report. Second thing that we have here is a set of dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. This is some distribution example data. This is not off any one particular ERP. However, these dashboards could, of course, be off your ERP, but in this case, I'm doing it off of a data warehouse. So we've got a lot of that distribution type data. So, of course, revenue to expenses, actuals to budget, excuse me, have that. But then secondly, a trend for the times. But then again, what's my inventory turnover rate by distribution center? So again, I've got 10 or so locations. How are we doing there? What's my top customers? And if I click on Center Suite, I then can see for that customer the top items that they have. Sometimes you want to see the reverse of that. You want to say for my that item, who's my biggest customer? So again, kind of some easy ways. Of course, can back out of that if I want to. Looking at a few of these other dashboards. I'll make this full screen just so it looks a little better. Again, this is refreshing live. So now if I want to take a look at some of my customer data, if I click on S&S Properties, it's going to redraw the ones of these that I wanted to redraw. So I redrew these three, but not the other three. That was on purpose as you set it up. So now I can see their trend. So very helpful, even potentially for a sales rep. See my customer, what are they buying the most of, what are they not, those types of reports. So they link together. They're not pretty pictures. They drill down, they drill around, that type of thing. And then last, we can really get in the weeds with this, and here's an example of this as well. So selecting what my warehouse or distribution center is, I can then pick my product groupings and then see not only the turnover rate, but we've put some data in here, order pick accuracies and so on, that can really help a distributor improve their performance. One thing I'll mention in some ERPs, and I won't mention the name of that one, you get back orders right now in the system. You don't get a historical back order rate. So as we create the data warehouse, copy data out on a day-to-day basis, we then can update some historical data over and above what's in the Dynamics program, and enhance that data a little bit. And of course, none of these products are perfect. They're all really good. They all have a little tiny something that can be updated, and that is part of what a data warehouse system can do. Also, and I don't have too much of it here, but we certainly can add some data from other data sources. Here I'm adding an industry average and two of our public competitor distribution companies to take a look at what our margin rates are compared to them. So again, you can do some nice little things with that to help with the data warehouse. You can store data from all of your systems, but also start putting in data from some other systems to help compare yourself or for whatever purpose. Okay, then last, we do have the possibility to do some budget entry from here as well, but that is another webinar. So I'm going to show just one more of these, and then I'll Within SBS, we've certainly done a few professional services organizations, so I wanted to take just a minute and show a little bit about how some of that reporting and some of that work can help within them. So this is a project-based dashboard. And again, we can do reports off that too. But the secret here is that we extended some of the, and I want to make sure it shows here as we get our data here, is we're putting in, again, for each one of these, how our project billing is. And again, this is week by week, not months. How our billable to non-billable hour ratio is. That's important to see what our expenses are and so on. And then what are those non-billable things? Is it travel time or is it something else? Okay, one other one of these. This is doing that down to the consultant level. So pick the name of your consultant that you want, see their billing, see their overtime, see their non-billable hours. What are they, doing? Is it something important or is it something maybe not so important that a manager can fix? But again, kind of up to you to be able to show the utilization rate, show something else. We've even done some work in professional services to show and store in this the, in addition to the projects through the door, official, signed, sealed, delivered. That's usually where ERP systems start, but also be able to do the ones that are about to close. Probably most, 90-some% closed, but you got to start scheduling some things for them and kind of put them in the system and be able to do that as well. And that's actually been a gap for a few of our key customers to be able to manage the difference between, that sales to consulting transition and not letting something fall between the cracks there. So then last, of course, the reports inside of this this system are quite different than the others. And again, that can include some of the, this is one of my favorite billing type reports. We actually get one internally here at Solver. And that's a weekly billing summary. So again, don't have to wait till the end of the month, just wait till the end of the week. The timesheets get approved, and then you can go ahead and get a report by consultant, by week, by month, by year to date, and be able to see that in a few extra tabs here as well. Okay, so I'm going to show, I have just enough minutes to show one more report before I go ahead and take some questions. And I saved this one for last. I've got to go get it the hard way. Okay, and this report is so this is one of my favorite reports because it automates something I saw a good number of my customers doing. And I'm going to go ahead and run this, and just to leave a second of surprise, what I saw them doing is not so much the P&L. You're going to see this right. And again, this is just so very similar to the other P&L that I showed before, except we do have, if I scroll to the right, I have 2 years, month by month data to take a look at. That's nice. And then secondly, have the ability on some of these expenses to see them by group, but then also by natural account Again, not a big deal. That's that group ungroup functionality that I've shown before. Now, what we did, I'm kind of really proud of, is taking a look at the auto narrative here. So the net income this month was actually this one isn't quite doing it right. I apologize. I clicked the wrong one. I wanted 71, not 70. So let me do this one again. So again, you can kind of see this come in. So the profitability this month was great, a net income of 88,000 compared to 61,000 the same month last year, so on and so on. Also have some, revenue data. The top customer was computer equipment leasing, blah, blah, blah. Largest payment was made to inline permits and so on. So what we did here was we took data from our P&L statement, but also from the top 15 sales transactions, top 10 vendor payments, and top 10 customers who owe us money. Again, nice little simple reports, multiple module, can't do that in Microsoft Dynamics today. And then secondly, put together this summary. So no longer does somebody have to type this. It is a concatenation of a whole bunch of things in Excel, so it's not, technically difficult. It's a little more of a jigsaw puzzle type of thing, but again, down here we have some of those fields, again, and we hide this usually, but we said the word great or nice or weak depending on the percentage improvement from this year to last year, and those types of tricks. So if I run this for the designated bad month, which I believe is July. So as I press them, again, profitability this month was great. I'm going to rerun it. Profitability this month was weak. Net income of 57,000 compared to 80,000 for the same month last year, 27% down. So that's, weak. So again, we have nice, great, put in other adjectives if you want to, awesome, sweet, duck, whatever you want to, say to folks to give them the idea of how the performance was. You can do that with this, and again, just kind of put this together and format it. But the nice thing is you don't have to wait a day to send out the financials, to wait for somebody to read them, understand them, write a text in Word, save that, and then attach it to the documents and send them out. So last thing that BI360 can do is we can chain a few reports together, and I don't mean different tabs of the same report. That, of course, we do too, but put this with a trial balance, put it with a cash flow report, put it with a sales report and a glossary of terms PDF file, and send that out through something we call the publisher. So that's the last thing that we've done. Management Reporter had huge troubles doing that type of stuff. FRX had some limited functionality for it, but we have the ability to batch reports together, send them out to people, and they don't even have to be people who are named users of the system. So kind of jumping back to the end. So again, that's some examples of beyond reporting. So start with the financial statements. That's everybody's worry and first worry, as it should be. But then what are you doing in terms of subledger reporting, putting purchase orders on your report? Do Excel formatting to do those stoplights, to be able to take someone's eye to the place that you need to. Put some dashboards out there with real-time information, and so on. So I'm going to stop for a second. Chris, are there any questions that were typed in while I was presenting?
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, we have one question here. I don't know if you have any on your end, but the one question I got was, if I have multiple companies, is there a way to consolidate the reports based on the organizational hierarchy?
Yes. Yes, there are unlimited ways to be able to organize your reports based on the hierarchy. So I'm going to go ahead and play Mad Doctor for a second and take this report I just showed. And again, we'll do the balance sheet here. And again, so this one had a selection criteria when we ran it to say entity, which is a fancy word for company, scenario, which is a fancy word for budget, actual, those types of things. In fact, I can show that. And then third, we had a selection criteria here for the main currency as opposed to the functional currency. Didn't even talk about currency, but we do support, and this is a multi-currency version of the report. But let's say that's good, but you want more. So now we can go down and take any of these fields that we want. Department might be a good one. And then now that can be part of our selection criteria. And if we always want this to be a certain couple of departments, that's fine. We can also make this a selection criteria and choose any one of these formats. I won't choose the tab per value on this one, but now we're able to select this report based on department that we weren't able to before. So now we can just show that. So any field in there, user-defined field, dimension, key segment of the chart of accounts or not, doesn't matter. If it's one of the report fields showing there, it can be part of the selection criteria. And then, of course, it can also be something you subtotal by or something else if you prefer as well. So great question. I'm going to not save this report just so the next person who runs it doesn't get a surprise of only seeing 2/3 of the departments there. But that's how simple it would be. It's a drag and drop reporting experience. So Chris, are there any other questions out there?
No, that's it on my end, Tom.
All right, I have just enough minutes. I have one question that sometimes I get asked, and I'll go ahead and show this. Sometimes I get asked about allocations. So one of the nice things that you can do with BI360, especially if you've gone to the Beyond thing and put in some data that's not exactly dollars and financials and those types of things, is to be able to allocate things out. So the example of what we have here, and I'm going to go ahead and run this, is someone took their revenue accounts that are just today natural account level things, and they said, we want to do a not official profit and loss statement on each of our GL accounts, but we want to do at least an internal kind of one. Which one of these products is doing the best? So what they did was here's the summary. I'm sorry. Here is the pre-summary financial statement. So again, you have different revenues for these, and of course, it's all in this column. Had our expenses here too, and that just a little bit better. So again, had 10 million here. So as we go back, then what they did was they chose 4 different allocation methods for their expenses. They said, we're going to do some timesheet allocations first. We're going to do some headcount personnel allocations second. We're going to do a direct expense allocation, and we're going to do a square footage allocation. So to be able to do that, they first came in and said, okay, so for our top executives, for Freddie, for Emilio, for Joanne, what did they work on? And each month put that in. And again, ours are kind of the same for each month, but if it's 40% here instead of 25, and then we'll put this one down to 50% from 65. and the other one was 10% for Joanne. Then we've reallocated kind of what we're doing here, and again, got some extra time. Then secondly, on the head count allocation, third, kind of put in and imported the square footage by employees, or they taped the floor. I'm not sure exactly what they did. And then third, did an allocation based off of something else, but they said it was 25, 36, and 39%. Maybe that was based on service calls or something else. So they're able to do this, and then at the end they're able to then allocate out their expenses for each of these three products. So they've allocated out the salaries based on the things, the overhead based on the head count, the rent and that type of stuff based on the tape on the floor, and the admin expenses based on that direct expense one, and they've recreated their thing. So any data that you have that you're tracking in your data warehouse, you can do an allocation based off. Of course, in the ERPs, you're allowed to do some of that. Unit accounts in GP, statistical ledger in SL, and I think the same name in NAV. You can put those in. They work great. Of course, allocations of dollars based on dollars of other GL accounts. All the ERPs do that okay, but to do it based on, again, that square footage, the shares of stock, the full-time equivalents, the service calls. I think that's, for some businesses, that's a great way to allocate something. So be able to do that. That all can be stored in the data warehouse. It can be used on reports as a percent of something on the financial statements, or it can be used to allocate something and do that more fairly. All right, so that is the end of my questions. So I guess I wanted to say, Chris, thank you for inviting Solver to show BI360, the reporting and beyond. So again, we have two things. About the first 25 minutes, I showed our financial reporting only, our management reporter replacement. That has a special introductory price. Then the rest of what I did is reporting on all the modules of your Dynamics ERP, or it also can be from the data warehouse, where you can mix modules together, mix ERP and CRM and other applications together, and get great reporting from there. So again, contact either myself, Tom Franks, or probably better, your SBS sales rep, who you know who that is, and we'll be able to tell you some more. So Chris, thanks again for having Solver.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thanks for presenting. It was a great webcast. Like Tom said, if you have any further questions about the presentation, you can reach out to him, or we'd prefer you reach out to your account manager from SBS Group, because they all have Tom's number and can work with him directly. Or you can always email us at info@sbsgroupusa.com. You can also visit our website, www.sbsgroupusa.com, to find out more information about BI360 and Solver. So thanks again, Tom, and everyone else for joining today, and have a great rest of your day.
Have a great week.